We live in a world that screams at you to be extraordinary. Every billboard, every motivational quote, every algorithm-fed reel tells you the same story. If you are not exceptional, you are failing. But what if I told you that the relentless chase for greatness is the very thing destroying your peace, your relationships, and your sense of self? What if the most radical, most courageous thing you could do right now is to embrace being average? Sit with that for a moment. Let it unsettle you, because today we are going to tear apart one of the most dangerous myths of our time, the myth that ordinary is the enemy. From the moment you were old enough to understand language, society began feeding you a script. You were told that you must stand out, rise above, hustle harder, dream bigger. Schools ranked you against your peers. Social media taught you to compare your behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel. The message was always the same. Mediocrity is shameful. Average is a curse word. But here is the thing most people never stop to consider. The word mediocre comes from the Latin mediocris, which literally means halfway up the mountain, not at the bottom, not lost in the valley, halfway up. It means you are climbing. It means you are in motion. There was never anything shameful about it until someone decided that only the summit counts. Think about that for a second. We have taken a word that describes progress and turned it into an insult. And in doing so, we have created entire generations of people who are terrified of being seen as normal. People who work themselves into burnout, who sacrifice their health, their families, their inner peace. All because they are afraid of being called average. The ancient Greeks had a concept called metriotes, the virtue of the middle way. Aristotle himself argued that excellence is not found at the extremes, but in the balanced center. Courage is not recklessness, and it is not cowardice. It is the middle ground. Generosity is not wastefulness, and it is not stinginess. It is the space between. The philosopher who gave us the very foundation of Western ethics was essentially saying that the virtuous life is, by definition, a moderate life, a measured life, a life that modern culture would mockingly call mediocre. And it was not just the Greeks. In Eastern philosophy, the Tao Te Ching teaches that the wise person does not compete and therefore cannot be defeated. Buddhism centers itself on the middle path, the deliberate rejection of extremes. Across civilizations and centuries, the most profound thinkers arrived at the same conclusion. There is wisdom, even holiness, in the ordinary. But somehow, somewhere along the way, we forgot. We forgot because the modern economy does not profit from contentment. Contentment is the enemy of consumption. If you feel enough, you stop buying. If you accept yourself, you stop clicking on self-improvement ads. The entire machinery of modern capitalism depends on you believing that you are not yet sufficient, that you need one more course, one more promotion, one more transformation to finally arrive at the person you are supposed to be. So let me ask you this, and I want you to be painfully honest with yourself. How much of your ambition is genuinely yours, and how much was planted in you by a culture that profits from your dissatisfaction? I want you to picture someone. Maybe it is you. Maybe it is someone you love. This person wakes up every day, goes to work, comes home, cooks dinner, helps the kids with homework, watches a show with their partner, and goes to bed. They are not building an empire. They are not disrupting an industry. They are not going viral. They are just living. And somewhere deep inside, they carry a quiet shame about it. A feeling that they should be doing more, being more, achieving more. That shame is not natural. It was manufactured. It was engineered by a culture that treats rest as laziness, stability as stagnation, and contentment as complacency. And the cruelest part is that the people who feel this shame the most are often the ones who are already doing something extraordinary. They are raising children with love, maintaining relationships with care, showing up every single day with integrity. But because none of that goes viral, because none of that fits neatly into a success story, they dismiss it. I once read about a man in Japan who spent 40 years making the same style of sushi in a small restaurant. He was not famous for most of that time. He was not trying to scale, to franchise, to build a brand. He was simply trying to make each piece of sushi a little better than the last. And in that quiet dedication to something simple, something profoundly ordinary, he became one of the greatest sushi chefs in the world. But here is the part that matters. He did not become great because he chased greatness. He became great because he honored the ordinary. He found dignity in repetition, in small improvement, in the unglamorous act of showing up and doing the same thing with love. How many of us are missing that lesson? How many of us are so busy looking for our grand purpose that we are ignoring the sacred work right in front of us? The parent who reads the same bedtime story for the 100th time is doing holy work. The teacher who explains the same lesson year after year with fresh patience is doing holy work. The friend who answers the phone at midnight just to listen is doing holy work. None of this will ever trend on social media. None of it will win awards. But it is the fabric of a meaningful life, and to dismiss it as mediocre is to misunderstand the very nature of what matters. If this idea is already resonating with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe so you don't miss this journey. Now, I want to take this deeper, because understanding the problem is only half the battle. The real transformation happens when you change how you define success, not the world's definition, yours. The psychologist Abraham Maslow is famous for his hierarchy of needs, that pyramid with self-actualization at the top. But what most people don't know is that later in his life, Maslow himself began to question whether self-actualization was really the pinnacle. He started writing about what he called self-transcendence, the idea that the highest human experience is not about becoming your best self, but about losing yourself in service, in connection, in something greater. In other words, the peak of human fulfillment is not standing on the mountain alone with your arms raised. It is being so immersed in life that you forget you are climbing at all. Think about the moments in your life when you felt most alive. Were they moments of achievement, of winning, of being recognized? Or were they quieter than that? The first time you held your child, a conversation with a friend that went so deep you lost track of time, a sunset that made you stop and forget every item on your to-do list. These moments are not extraordinary in the way the world defines extraordinary. They are ordinary, profoundly, beautifully, irreplaceably ordinary. The Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote in his journal, never in the pages he intended for public consumption, that the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts, not the quality of your achievements, not the size of your platform, the quality of your thoughts. A Roman emperor, arguably one of the most powerful men in human history, found peace not in power but in the private discipline of thinking well. And here is a practical truth that no motivational speaker will tell you. Most of the people who achieve extraordinary things by the world's standards are not happier than you. Studies consistently show that beyond a certain threshold of financial security, more wealth does not increase happiness. Status does not increase happiness. Fame actually tends to decrease it. The happiest people, according to decades of research, are those with strong relationships, a sense of purpose no matter how small, and the ability to be present in their daily lives. So what does transformation look like? It does not look like quitting your job to start a company. It does not look like posting a dramatic life change announcement online. It looks like this. You wake up tomorrow morning, and instead of immediately reaching for your phone to see what the world expects of you, you take a breath. You look around at your actual life, the messy, imperfect, beautifully ordinary life you have built, and you choose to see it clearly. You choose to honor it. You choose to stop apologizing for it. You start measuring your days not by productivity metrics, but by presence. Did I listen to my partner today? Did I laugh? Did I notice the sky? Did I do my work with care, not for applause, but because care itself is a form of love? These are not small questions. These are the only questions that matter. But there is a secret even deeper than this, one that very few people ever discover. The deepest secret is this: mediocrity, true mediocrity in the original sense of the word, is not the absence of greatness, it is the prerequisite for it. Every master was first a beginner. Every masterpiece began as a rough draft. Every profound relationship started with an awkward first conversation. The willingness to be mediocre, to be imperfect, to be in process, is what makes growth possible. The people who never achieve anything meaningful are not the ones who accept being average. They are the ones who are so terrified of being average that they never start. They never write the book because it might not be perfect. They never open the business because it might fail. They never say "I love you" because they might be rejected. Perfectionism, the obsessive need to be extraordinary, is not the engine of success. It is the prison that prevents it. Here is the revelation that changes everything. When you give yourself permission to be mediocre, you give yourself permission to be free. Free to try things without the crushing weight of needing them to be brilliant. Free to fail without it meaning something about your worth. Free to enjoy the process instead of being enslaved by the outcome. And the beautiful irony is that when you stop performing, when you stop curating, when you stop comparing, something authentic begins to emerge from you. Something the world has never seen before because it was always buried under the pressure to be someone else. The Japanese concept of wabi-sabi teaches that there is beauty in imperfection, in incompleteness, in the natural cycle of growth and decay. A cracked bowl repaired with gold is more beautiful than one that was never broken. Your scars, your struggles, your ordinary and unremarkable days are not the opposite of a beautiful life. They are its texture. They are what make it real. So here is what I want to leave you with. The next time the world tells you that you are not enough, that you need to be louder, shinier, more impressive, I want you to remember this. Halfway up the mountain is still climbing. The middle path is where the sages walk. And the most extraordinary thing you can do in a world obsessed with performance is to simply, quietly, and without apology, be yourself. Not the optimized version of yourself. Not the filtered, curated, algorithm-friendly version. Just you. With your doubts and your small joys and your unremarkable Tuesday afternoons. That is not mediocrity. That is the most honest form of courage there is. Let mediocrity become your rebellion. Let ordinary become your revolution. And watch how, when you finally stop running from who you are, life begins to meet you exactly where you stand. If this message touched something inside you, leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to this channel. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, someone who needs to hear that they are enough, exactly as they are, send them this video. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remind someone that they do not need to be extraordinary to be worthy of love. I will see you in the next one. In the next